Hello everyone! Today's lesson is going to be a recap of our rhythm units so far. I've been really impressed by your hard work, so keep up the good work. Today we'll be recapping what we've learned in our rhythm unit so far. We're going to start right back at week 1 with the note values that we learnt then. So that is the minim, the semibreve and the crotchet. And we'll move all the way through to week 4's topic of rests. Next lesson, we'll begin to cover our next element of music, which is pitch. And last lesson, we explored rests and discovered some new symbols that we associate with our different types of rests. Recapping this knowledge is going to help us remember the note values that we've learned so far, and this will become a skill that we use to help us to read music, which is very exciting. Okay, let's begin at week 1, where we covered the crotchet, the minim, and the semibreve. Let's look at the last one of those now, the semibreve. I hope you recognise this note as the semibreve. Within a semibreve, we have 4 beats. That means you play it and hold the note for 4 counts. Next, we have our minim. Now, one of these notes lasts for 2 beats. And the final one of this 3 is the crotchet. And one of these crotchets lasts for just 1 beat. We've gone over the relationship between these notes before, how half of a semibreve is a minim and how half of a minim is a crotchet. So therefore the maths in here is that you can see that there are 4 crotchets in a semibreve. In week 2, we discovered the quaver. Now the quaver is the shortest note that we have learnt so far. It's worth half of a beat. And if you can do your maths, you will be able to work out that a quaver is half of a crotchet, as we know that a crotchet is worth 1 full beat, and half of 1 is a half. I'll go over the different parts of the quaver with you now, starting with the note head, the coloured in circle. We then have the stem, and remember when you're drawing the stem, you'll need to use a ruler so it's nice and straight and neat. The fancy flick you can see on the end of the stem is the tail. But when you see a couple of quavers or more together in a piece of music, don't be surprised if you see this symbol here. Remember that this is just the tail drawn across, joining the 2 quavers in something we call grouping. This is just to keep the music looking nice and neat, and it makes the quavers easier to read. When we got to week 3, we started looking at dotted notes, such as the one here. Now, dotted notes are quite a tricky concept to understand, but we broke it down into a few simple steps. So we take firstly the type of note that this is. Hopefully you'll recognise this note as a minim. The note above is just a minim with a dot added to it. Now the key question here is, what did the dot mean? The dot means that you halve the note that you can see. If we think carefully, we'll remember that a minim is worth 2 beats. Now what note is half of 2? So we're looking for a 1 beat note. Can you have a think about which note lasts for 1 beat? If you thought it was the crotchet, then you are correct. So what you do with the dotted note is, as I just said, you halve the note that you can see, so half of 2 is 1, and you add that to the note that you can see. So what you're essentially doing here is taking your minim, halving your minim, which is a crotchet or 1 beat note, and then you add those two together to create a 3-beat note or a dotted minim. Just have a think about that for just a couple of moments and get your head around the sum. I'll remind you again, you see the dotted note, you look at what type of note it is, halve that note and add that to the note you can see. And finally, in week 4, we met our rests. The first rest we encountered was this one, the upside down hat. Can you remember what note it represents? It represents the semibreve, which is a 4-beat note. So when we see this upside down hat rest, we know that there are going to be 4 beats of silence. Our next rest is this, the same rest but flipped 180 degrees so it looks like a hat. Can we remember what note this replaces? It replaces the minim. And how many beats of silence would we get if we saw this symbol? We would get 2 beats of silence because our minim is worth 2 beats. And the final rest that we learnt last week, this rest, and remember to withdraw this, we said we draw a Z with a C on the end. Now, what type of rest is this? It is a crotchet rest. And as we said earlier, a crotchet is worth 1 beat. So when we see this rest, we have 1 beat of silence. And now it's that time of the lesson where we head back over to Show My Homework to complete our exit ticket quiz. A big well done again for all of your hard work so far. You're doing a great job, and as ever, if you have any questions, drop me a message on Show My Homework, and if you do need to email me for any reason, please use your school email address. I will also explain the stretch activity on Show My Homework, so head back over there now, and good work.